Jabez Ruben, how are you?
I'm doing good, sir. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Working on some really cool stuff when it comes to LLM optimization, listicles. What sort of stuff you doing and working on in a minute?
A lot of testings, I would say, and I'm enjoying it. So I think we've completely moved towards just LLM service, LLM rankings for our clients. And we've been just doing a lot of tests. Earlier in the year, we were just publishing a lot of listicles, but soon LLMs caught up to that. They started filtering out straight up biased listicles. So we've started figuring out different article formats. Even listicles are still working, but you have to update the way you publish listicles. So basically just trying different methods, different strategies, and also working on our LLM mastery events as well.
One common trend that I've seen this year, particularly across a lot of SEOs who are building their own niche websites, was that they've kind of switched and they're not creating their own websites anymore. They're switching over to publishing content with parasite SEO or guest blogs or whatever on different websites. Have you seen the same sort of thing?
I would do both. Now with again with LLM rankings, we've seen a lot of our clients, especially in a lot of competitive niches, clients getting outranked by fresh EMDs, even small, not non-EMDs or partial EMDs, just small dedicated site, but they outrank for a big query. So, and that's what we are doing for our clients as well, building satellites, EMDs, partial EMDs, and just satellite sites along with parasites. They all are working.
When you say satellite sites, what does that involve?
Satellite sites just mean it's non-EMD. It's just another regular small website built around my client's target niche, or let's say a shoulder niche, but it's not an EMD, but pretty much a niche site.
This is something I've been experimenting with recently. It's like, because we found that creating listicles, publishing them on one website with AI works really, really well. And so we were like, okay, why don't we just scale that out and build like 5 or 10 websites in the same niche? Is that something you've tried as well?
So there's a very good case study Corey published on EMDs and how he switches EMDs. Half of the stuff Corey shares, it's hard for me to digest as well. But I did an interview with him in May, and he gave this idea of just don't publish EMDs in the same category, like just copy paste kind of. You need variations. So, and that's what we started doing. We just started doing like EMDs or satellite sites, niche sites in the same niche, but with definitely a variation. So each site is targeting a different sub category, and that's how we are trying to rank and see results.
Oh, that makes sense. So for example, like let's say I'm in the AI niche with my AI community. It's like, okay, you might have one website for Hermes agent, then another website for Claude code, and you're just focusing on different sub niches, so they're totally different.
Yes.
Makes total sense. And when you're like describing what you want, because this is something else, and I'm thinking about how to title this video. That's what I'm thinking about it. But like, would you call this like AEO or LLM optimization or GEO, or do you think it's just all the same bracket?
I did a post a few weeks ago, and just for the fun of it, because all these terms are popping up, right? AEO, GEO. Then I just randomly posted. So all my AEO, GEO, and NEO experts, let me know what you think. And then there were comments from people, what is this new category, NEO?
I want to get into that. Man. I'm going to rank for best NEO expert.
I don't know, man. Whatever you call it, whatever works, whatever makes people understand AEO, GEO, SEO. I call it like ranking expert. That makes more sense for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just like still SEO, isn't it? It's just like adapting to what's changing now. What about when it comes to your actual approach? So, for example, you've mentioned putting out a website for a client and then building out, for example, the sub niche websites for clients, targeting listicles as well. What else goes into the strategy if someone wanted to implement it?
Okay. So the first thing we do is we take our clients' target keywords. Then we have our agent built out that scrapes all the backend network processing of various LLMs. So I can show you a screenshot. Can I do a screen share? I can show you. So let me share my screen. I'm in middle of all planning, so I'll show you what we gather. Awesome. So we scrape data. So we'll run the query through ChatGPT, all models, and it will scrape all fan out queries and the reasoning framing. And now apart from fan out queries, there's also something called the verbatim where it's processing. I don't know where it's gone. Oh yeah, the framing. So it will, it reasons while it's processing the data. It's reasoning, and this can be seen in the right-hand side panel. And sometimes you don't see, but our agent just scrapes everything. And then we extract which all brands showed up in which models, what all categories showed up, and who are the winners in those categories. And we do the same across all models. So Google AI mode, Claude, Gemini, everything. So this gives us a lot of data to start planning. And then we see, okay, these are the brands with whom we need to make comparison articles. If a brand is appearing a lot across answers, then we want to avoid including them in top positions in the listicles. But we do want to create comparison articles with those top appearing brands. And then even with the sources that come up, you will see each source comes in ChatGPT comes with a snippet as well. Like there's a small snippet so we take ideas from there also, that this is how we will structure, because that's the messaging ChatGPT is initially pulling from that article. So all these things come handy into planning what kind of listicles we need to do, what kind of comparison articles, user guides, and review articles. And then we plan out, okay, this will be the plan for the month. And also it depends on the client's niche and budget. Because if the client is in a tough niche and has a bigger budget, then we can go into building dedicated websites for them as well.
Yeah, something I was looking at, I mean, that was a crazy spreadsheet, but I like the system you got there. Do you find like there's actually different answers depending on the model? So for example, I can see you had GPT 5.6 Soul in there, and that was compared to a different version of GPT 5.6.
It does. So sometimes, how do I give an example here? So I've just started comparing 5.6 Soul and 5.5 Instant, because I think in the free version, people it still uses 5.5 Instant. So in 5.5 Instant, there's less reasoning. There's less, so it's just straight up web search more, at least in the niches that we are working. And in that case, the fresh articles, the listicles that you're publishing, they get to influence the results faster. Whereas in 5.6 Soul Instant, especially the thinking model, we see that it goes really hard into making sure the answer is backed by higher or bigger publications. So yeah. That kind of difference we are seeing, but there's definitely difference even within ChatGPT's different models.
Yeah, and you also mentioned about Claude, for example, and you're the second person I've heard say this, where if you're trying to rank inside Claude, you can't, or if your article comes across as biased in any way, it just kind of discounts you.
Yeah. 100%. So this has been happening, I think, start of June, where we started noticing that listicles were being flagged as, they were straight up being flagged that, okay, there's one more brand, but it's appearing in a lot of listicles that seems to be sponsored or affiliate. So we will mention it, but we will, you need to take it with caution. That kind of full warning signs or notices that it flags. But then there's way around it, right? So first thing we started doing is don't put a target brand as the number one winner. Put it on number 2, number 3, number 4. And then we rotate. I think at least for the next few months, this will be our strategy in listicles. We don't want to put our brand or our client's brand as best overall, number 1. It will be in few articles, but then target 2 or 3 sub niches or subcategories that will be most helpful for the client. So let's say if I'm working for an SEO agency in London, right? And they work with SaaS, they work with e-com, and they work with local businesses as well. So we'll ask the client, okay, what's your priority order? Which category is most helpful for you? So if they say SaaS first, then local SEO, and then e-com, then that's how we rotate them as best for SaaS. So 5 best SEO agencies in London. This one is best for local. This one is best for SaaS. This one is best to work on enterprise. And we try our best that categories that are helpful for our client or the categories that our client wants to target, we don't give those votes to anyone else in the whole campaign as much as possible.
That's smart. One thing that just came to mind then as well is, for example, you could have a sister brand for that. And it depends on what the client's comfortable with, I guess. If it's a big enterprise, they're never going to do this. But for example, if it was you trying to rank, then you could have multiple different sister brands of your same agency, can you? And then rank top 3 no matter what, and you just rotate who ranks number 1.
You can do that. I would say still use, because there was also a big debate, people saying that, hey, why don't we just make fake brands so that if we are giving votes, we are not giving to our competitors. But then, LLMs and Google, they're all getting smarter and they can track fake entities. And the point is to put your brand in a known bucket. You want to put your brand against top players so that LLMs and Google can identify you as a bigger player, not as someone who is just popping up with random names. So I would use sister brands. Yes, that's a great idea. But I will make sure that I've established its entity and its consensus as well before I put it in that bucket.
Yeah, it makes sense for sure. Like if they fact check the article and it's like Bob's SEO agency that doesn't actually exist, then no matter all the hard work that you've done becomes undone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then
That
have you
makes
tried?
sense.
Go on,
I was saying, you in some niches that are less competitive, you can still get by, but the more competitive you get, then it's definitely going to backfire.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Especially, I mean, one thing I was thinking as well was like, if you got your strategy versus someone's, another SEO agency strategy, I don't see how they can compete with this. It's like you're reverse engineering the actual data from the LLMs, and then you're fine tuning it month by month based on what works and what doesn't, right?
That's what I'm seeing. In especially, in models that are working in the free accounts like ChatGPT's instant AI mode and Gemini Flash, that are these models that are pulling a lot of live retrieval data. New or fresher content kind of overpowers a lot of time. So the ones who are reverse engineering and publishing new content will keep moving up. But at the same time, this whole thing of getting into the training data and building your grounding effect, that comes into play. So if you are consistently still diversifying and building different kinds of articles, because there will be a lot of articles that your competitors cannot see unless they are tracking your brand mentions. So because a lot of we build off-page topical authority, and we build a lot of different kinds of articles, not just listicles, to build consensus and to get into the training data. So if you're doing that, then you may still keep outranking your competitors, and they won't be able to catch on to you unless they are doing your brand monitoring, because then they will know whenever you're publishing a new content and putting your brand there.
That's interesting. So you're doing the listicles as well, and then you're using that strategy you talked about before, but then you're also doing other articles to sort of back it up and to reinforce what is that, like query fan out content? Or
not just that. So the simple goal is what we've been doing all this while with topical authority on your own site. You basically now do off-page topical authority. You just build a detailed topical authority for your brand and publish it on third-party sites, on Reddit, on different third-party sites. And if you don't have the budget, then there are so many other free platforms. Just publish there and build your off-page topical authority. Then you get granular for being aggressive. You publish listicles, comparison articles, buyer's guide, review articles to force into LLM and AI overview results.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you tried testing out trying to rank with YouTube videos, like listicles inside YouTube videos?
Not yet, but I've seen plenty of results where YouTube gets into the citations very easily.
It's almost too easy, particularly on Google AI reviews.
Yeah. It also depends. Certain platforms perform really well based on the niche. So what I've seen, if it's B2B or business related, LinkedIn will perform well. If it is health, beauty, those kind of niches, Instagram will perform well. And perform, by that I mean besides your regular websites. So the different platforms, Instagram will be there. And then YouTube, I think, is in a lot of segments, a lot of niches.
What are you using for actually tracking the rankings?
We've been using Radar Kit it's someone I know, like a friend of mine, he's built that tool. And that's the only tool tool-wise that I've used, because he's good with implementing our suggestions. But honestly, I prefer manually, spot testing our clients' ranking. That tool is good, but I also keep testing manually. So using VPN, change the location, incognito mode, and just track random locations, random variations for our clients, and send them screenshots from there. But the tracking tool is helpful because in LLMs, there's no number one ranking, right? So you have to take out the average. So that's what we're doing.
That's the thing, is as well, it seems to change so much, even depending on the user's history and what they're working on.
Yeah. So and also location, so same query will have different answers in search from different locations. So Reduc, it does that. It gives you location-based answer, different location-based answer. And I'm sure like all the tracking tools, there's so many tracking tools, right? So many. Every other week there's a tracking tool being launched. So just find something which is easy to use.
I think there's so much investment in that area right now. It's like everyone's trying to create their own tool to get invested in like quickly and sell quickly.
Yeah.
What about with the listicles that you create? Do you build backlinks to them too?
So this is like what we are doing. First of all, we've almost reduced adding our clients' actual link in those listicles, unless we are publishing on a really big site. Only then we will add a link. Or if the client has never published a dedicated review article. Once we have a dedicated review article, then what we'll do is we will use that published link. So if say Julian Gold, here's a #1 review of juliangoldie.com. Once that article is published, then other listicles, other comparison articles that we publish, we add a link to that article, and then kind of daisy chain and then kind of just give links to previously published articles. And also, apart from links, there's another concept of citing, backing up your claims. So something that I published in my first review or second review, we back up those claims in future articles. So those are two things that we implement when it comes to giving links, or you just adding more power to previously published articles.
Yeah, it makes sense. How about like just stepping away from that, because that was super actionable when it comes to figuring out the lists, ranking them, how to organize them, how to track them, everything else. When it comes to the SEO industry, how have you seen that change this year? Because it feels like it's accelerating in ways I've never seen before.
Yeah. Something that we were talking earlier, like there's, in terms of from client response, I think there is still a lot of FOMO element, which we are enjoying. Everyone wants to be in LLMs. Great. We come and buy our packages, irrespective whether it brings business or not. But I mean, people want to be present in LLM results. That's that part. But in terms of SEO industry, I think it's evolving, right? I had this interview with Kyle a year or two ago where he said that, man, year after year, we've dealt with updates and we kept evolving. And I think that's the same stage right now. I think that's what it will continue to be for more years to, like, in the future as well. There'll be updates, even the LLM SEO or AI SEO, what we've been doing, that has changed in the last 6 months, the way we were doing. We keep evolving every month. And I think from that point of view, it will continue to remain the same. Yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, like one day there might be like a listicle update or something like that. And then it's right, it works now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are already sensing that. So we already moved from, as I said, we were earlier just heavy listicles. Now we already started moving towards, okay, now the next kind of article type that's working better. And I'm sure after 6 months, there will be another kind of article style that will be working. Links, I didn't expect to, degrade this much, but it has found a new way to, still work or find its way into SEO. So it keeps evolving. As long as you keep yourself updated with the latest trends, I think SEOs will remain in business.
Yeah, for sure. And you do a lot of events as well right now, right? Like a lot of masterminds and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, we do a lot of events. We started doing events also for brand building point of view. But then recently I started doing a lot of masterminds and podcasts, because I think that especially getting on podcast and interviewing people, right now I gather a lot of new insights just by interviewing people. I did one today with Charles, and then just got blown away with some of and we talked very, very niche. We didn't even cover all LLMs. We just talked about AI mode and AIO, and just in that I was able to track some really solid points. So I think doing events and doing these podcasts and masterminds, it has worked not just for our branding, but also just upgrading our skill set as well.
Yeah, I feel like just because I started this new channel, about a couple of weeks ago, and it feels like I've learned more in the last 2 weeks about SEO, just from stepping back from my own work and seeing what everyone else is doing. Just by doing that, like, you learn so much. It's amazing. Just for that alone, it's well worth it. And then also, I mean, if anyone's watching this and they're an SEO agency or freelancer trying to get clients, content creation is, I think, one of the highest leverage things you can ever do. For sure.
And when you're interviewing someone, you are like fully focused right into that conversation. So you're fully absorbing that as well. So you learn more.
Yeah, for sure. You're paying attention. You're just trying to focus only on that. That's the other thing I find. It's like if you're listening to a podcast in the background, sometimes you get distracted, or sometimes you go off and do other things, and you don't fully give it all your attention.
Yeah, true. Same here.
Have you considered? Because it's interesting to see. Like you said last year that you're more of a link building agency, but it sounds like you're switching more towards LLM optimization using the methods we talked about before. Is that something that's just happened naturally, or is it something that you planned?
I would say accidentally we jumped into it. I mean, we were just doing the same old drill, publishing links. And I was also trying to build a platform with a friend, and which was like one of the main features was how do we influence LLMs and build consensus. But then when we accidentally did a test and saw results with LLM rankings, it got me excited. And for the first time, I just started doing testings and experiments on my own. And because of that, because demand also increased from our clients that, hey, we want to rank across LLMs. We do a lot of white label for agencies. So agency clients started coming back to us that their clients want to rank more in LLMs. So yeah, that's why we just now moved. At least for now, our current focus is all around LLM visibility, LLM rankings. And it's also fun. It's still new, right? It's still not fully saturated. So it's fun to be in somewhat in the front line of doing experiments and sharing new case studies, which probably others haven't done yet.
You're working on a SaaS tool as well, like for link tracking. Are you still building that?
Yes. So I was just having my chat with my developer because we definitely want to add some, like everyone else, we do want to add that AI powered or LLM tracker or something. But that segment, which was so tiny, was massively saturated already last year. So I told my developer, like, if you can think of a really out of the box idea that's helpful and something that we as a company can use, then we can, add that feature. Other than that, it's just going to be the same old rail of our tracking tool, which I don't want to get into. Just not worth it.
Yeah, that's. I mean, for the amount of work it involves as well. I always feel like if you're fully focused on one thing as well, you just get 10 times better results.
100. And I think that's one of the reasons, again, I've enjoyed this year. Is because for the past 6 months, just the whole focus, everything has been around LLM rankings. And it's, I think, probably the most exciting time of my career right now.
And obviously, you're pretty well connected. I mean, you do a lot of SEO podcasts. I know you mentioned, for example, like Corey with Topical Authority and Charles Float before as well. Is there anyone else that you're really paying attention to in terms of the content they're creating or the experiments they're running in SEO?
You know what? One of the first person who really changed my perspective of how we were taking LLM rankings was James Dooley. He really shared a lot of information and testings and data, and then also did a lot of tests with us. So James was really good in sharing information. I'm still on the lookout for people who are doing a lot of testing. So I know James and the bunch there, like James, Castra, Corey. These people, they do a lot of testing. Then there's this other group that shares a lot of Google News, right?
Know exactly what you mean there. Well, for sure. I mean, James was on the podcast last week, and remember the amount of knowledge and shares is unbelievable, and he's got so much passion for it, which I love. And that was one of the most popular podcasts as well. I think everyone else just loves to listen to it.
Absolutely, and he's super helpful, which I really respect. And there are a few guys I've started following because they are doing reverse engineering, like how we are backtracking data and trying to extract. So there's a guy called Suganthan. He publishes more on LinkedIn. And he's doing basically the same tracking. He's trying to extract a lot of data from the network logs. So I like what he's posting. Steve Doth also publishes some good content that I like following. But I am also on the lookout for people who are doing more on testings. Like, we did this test. This is what we implemented, and this is how it worked.
Joe, I was asking someone for more podcast guests the other day for SEO, and the first response I got was people are trying to be really careful about what they show publicly with this stuff, because obviously they don't want to be any sort of target in the future, I guess, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
But then also, if you become the target, that you're onto something.
For sure. Yeah.
Gives a good publicity. We do have a dedicated testing group where people are testing different things. So from there, we are able to just share some ideas, and I'm trying to just add more people who are again testing a lot of stuff. Michael Siski is another guy, co-founder of Surfer SEO.
Oh yeah.
He's also doing a lot of data analysis and tracking and testings as well. So he can be a really good guest as well.
How do you actually do the data extraction? How does that work?
So you can just create an agent. I'm sure you've built so many agents. All you have to tell the agent that you give the agent Chrome access, right? And tell it to get into the log and the network, the backends, and extract all the information while you are processing this query. So tell it that, okay, run this query, and while this query is running from the backend, whatever that you are seeing, all the sources you're seeing, all the fan outs you're seeing, all the verbatim that you're seeing, snippets, you keep extracting it, and then and then over time, if you are building it in a way where it's improving, it's making its own brain, it will start analyzing and getting better at extracting the information. When the first time I did this, I just couldn't handle this. I was like, man, what is this? Like, how do I interpret this? And then over time, it started interpreting. And mind you, the agents will also start adding their own, hypothesis and analysis. So you have to keep pushing it back. That, hey, don't give me something that you cannot back with actual screenshots or you saw something in the background for real. And that's what we do. And then whenever someone publishes a case study or someone else finds more information from the network logs, or this is what we found, then we feed that data into this and say, hey, why didn't you track this, and how come this guy is tracking this information? So just keep improving that agent's brain.
For the brain, do you use like Obsidian or something like that to store the data?
Just plain everything is stored in what's Cowork.
Oh,
Claude
okay.
Cowork. Just very basic. I'm not very great with agents and all. It's a very basic Claude agent that I made.
Would you recommend if you want to store, for example, all the stuff that is learned, like in the logs and everything like that, Obsidian is really, really good for that.
Obsidian, that's what I've heard recently.
It's very good. Like I'll share my screen quickly and I'll show you what I mean. So this is what Obsidian looks like, and basically all of these notes, I mean, you could do this just for SEO, just for your tests, but all of these notes are literally just markdown files that we store like everything that it's done and all the most important parts of our database. So for example, like all of that web that you saw, these are just markdown files together. And then it will categorize, for example, like all the tools we use, all the people we work with, all the people on our team, like even little things like the tools that we use day to day that connects it all together. So then, for example, you could have like each one of those logs, you could have as a markdown file. And then also like each thing that it learns day by day, you could have, so it could like update its learnings or like its testing or whatever. And it can do that all for you. Like none of that I created myself.
Brilliant. Have you created some sort of a company brain as well?
Yeah, that was it. That was so for example, like if I go into Hermes agent, because it's connected to that, it will read through. I'll show you an example of what we did just earlier today. I was recording a course on this earlier. All right. So we visualized, number one, the actual memory. So it looks super nice and you can see it the way an agent would see it. Which is like this galaxy, and each one of these stars is a memory and they're all interlinked. And then the stars that burn the brightest are the ones that have worked on the most recently. But then also, for example, if I go into Hermes or whatever tool I use, and I'm like, okay, based on what you know about me, based on my Obsidian memory, give me a list of keyword ideas that are made, that are personalized to me. Have all our keyword data. So we've got that over here, and then it's like here's what you're working on. Here's the sweet spot. So it knows we're working on the agent operating system. And then it gives me all the relevant keywords based on that we can use for SEO, and like a super long list based on our Obsidian log, which is super useful.
Brilliant, man.
Yeah.
I definitely need to get into using Obsidian, because I heard recently in another group chat in Chiang Mai, and everyone was recommending Obsidian.
Yeah, plus it's just fun to look at the memory galaxy. Sometimes
you can make so many just social media posts showing off that this is what I'm working on.
Every day on my Instagram, it's like, guys, look at this. By the way, if you want this,
makes you like from a link builder to a full on like scientist.
Yeah, that's what it is. It does feel like you're a crazy scientist at times, experimenting with something fun. Yeah, it's a weird journey. And that was totally accidental, like the journey that I've personally made from going from like link building, which we still sell, to like actually AI community became the biggest thing that we created. I think. Yeah,
you still enjoying that? You still get excited about?
Yeah, I think it's easy to get excited about it. That was like probably the most important technology that's ever come out for us, and I get to talk about it and experiment with it every day. That's fun.
Yeah. And you're still on school?
Yeah, they changed. So number one, we just won the school games again, like the last quarter, which was great. And then it's pretty insane. And then they changed the leaderboard now, so like you can see who's in the top 10. Literally, you get a ranking for everyone in the world, regardless of category or industry. So we only just started in February last year. And when I started, I felt like we were too late, but we're ranked number 9 in the whole world, like out of 186.
Of course, all categories. All categories. Wow,
there's
that's
186,000
incredible.
owners on school, and number 9.
That's incredible, man. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done for that.
It's scary, and I actually looked at like who gets the most traffic, because it shows you who's getting. Out of the top 10, we're the second highest in terms of traffic without running ads or anything, which is pretty basic.
Crazy, and that's incredible.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. So, but yeah, I mean, again, because it's a game, it's kind of like I never had that with the agency. But if I knew, if we, for example, had a league table and it was like, okay, you got Jabez, and then you got Alejandro, and then you got, for example, authority builders, and you could see your MLR compared to everyone else's, like that would be so much fun.
Yeah, and when that's what we were talking, right? You keep doing that one thing, of like, as we were saying, you keep doing your SEO stuff, and then you just find that one thing or that one service or that one category that really starts exciting you, and you just double down on that.
Yeah,
and
you just
that's
go
when
all
you go all in that, and that's where once you conquer that mountain, then you will start flourishing in so many other ways as well.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like you don't feel confused. You just figure out what works, and you just rinse it. You're like, let's go as hard as
100.
we can. Yeah.
100, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Well, it was fantastic having you on. Really enjoyed this. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, Julian. It was great chatting to you, and I think we should do a chat with you where you can do a podcast showing how we can properly build a brain and all.
Yeah, we'd love that. Yeah, we should do that for sure.
Do that. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Is there anything we can link to in the description? Link out to you?
Yeah, I'll share the link to my upcoming conference event, and I'm also launching the LLM course, LLM mastery course. So I'll share a link to that.
All right. Can't wait to see the course as well. Cheers.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Cheers.